Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a detailed Redis crash course for you. We're going to look into some of the most important functions of Redis. Also, we're going to look into the most common data structures that Redis lets you use. In short, Redis is nothing but an in-memory data structure. You can either use it as a cache or your primary database, depending on your use case. I have a few more videos about Redis in the channel. I'll link all of those to the top right. With that being said, let's get started. So we have a local Redis server running over here. And this is the Redis shell that we're going to be using to directly interact with Redis. So the most basic use case for Redis is as a key value store. So you give a key and a value. Redis maps the key to the value. Later on, when you need that value, you give Redis the key and it returns to you the value. So for instance, let's say you wanna set the key called name to the value Bob, which is your name. Later on, when you need the name, all you do is use the get operation with the key and you get the value back. In this case, it's Bob. So the syntax for setting is the keyword set, followed by the key, let's say occupation, followed by the value, let's say engineer. And in this case, our value is a string. We're also going to look at other data structures and how you can set values for those. So we have set, the key is occupation, and the value is engineer. And now when we want to get the value back, we just give it the key occupation and we're gonna get the value back. So that's the most basic use case of Redis. It's just a key value mapping and this is persisted in memory. So even let's say you have a Python program running, as long as your Redis server is running too, your Python program can shut down or restart, but the data is going to be persisted in memory. You can also configure Redis so that whatever you're storing in Redis is dumped to disk. This way you can use it as a database, not only as a cache. So that's the most basic use. Now let's look at how which functions you want to use if you are using Redis as a caching layer. The most common use case of a caching layer is you want to store some value for a defined amount of time. So let's say you have like a session cookie and you want to store it only for like 5 minutes. So what Redis will do is once the 5 minutes has expired, it's gonna delete the data for you. So you don't have to worry about deleting them whenever you need them to. You can just set the TTL, that's time to live, when you're writing the data, and Redis in the background is gonna delete the data for you automatically. So how can you do that? So it's very similar. So let's do set, and let's say your key session cookie, right? And then the value is, let's say, just like a random string, right? So if you were to do this, then get it, you're getting it back, right? But Redis is indefinitely storing the data until you manually run the delete command. So you don't want that, right? Let's say you want it for like 5 seconds. We're just gonna use a very short amount of time so that I can show you how it works. So all you do is set session cookie once again. You give it the value. We'll just give it a random value. And then you give it another, you tell Redis when your data needs to expire. The way you do that is you give it EX, which is when you want the data to expire. And then in seconds, you give the time. So we're gonna do 10 seconds, let's say, right? So now your data is there for 10 seconds. So let's try to get it immediately. And you're getting the data back, right? We're gonna let 10 seconds pass and then we're gonna try to get the data again. In this case, the data should not be there anymore and it should return to you a none or something equal to that. So let's try to get it again. And we're getting nil, which means the data is not there anymore, right? However, if we just set it like this, no matter how much time has passed, your data would be there until you ran the delete command. We're also going to look at that later on in a bit. So that's the most basic use case of Redis. You can use it to store data indefinitely, or you can give it a time to live like we gave over here. And Redis is going to delete the data after that set amount of time has passed. All right, so the next use of Redis is going to be how if you have like a integer data, so like a number data. So you could do, let's say, something like set, and let's say you have a counter to 50. If you want to get the counter, you get it back. This case, it's 50. Very simple, same as you were storing a string. So Redis does not differentiate between a string and a number. So whatever operations you're doing here for a string, like get and set, you do the exact same for a number. So nothing changes on that front. And if you take a look at it, it does return the number to you as a string. So you will have to cast it to an int if you're working with Redis in Python or some other client. All right, so let's say having the counter key, what can you do in Redis, right? So one very common use case is to increment the key. So let's say your counter right now is 50, and you want an easy way to keep adding to it so that it goes up by 1 every time you call the function. Of course, you could like get the value, add 1 to it, and set the value again, but it's much more verbose. You have to write much more code to do that. Instead, Redis gives you one function which you can just use to do it. It's called incr, or increment, and you give it the key, in this case counter, and it automatically incremented it by 1. So if I do get counter again, I'm getting 51. Let's increment it again, 52, and then let's get it again. You are getting 52. I'll go ahead and delete it, and then let's get counter. There you go, 52. Once again, you want to increment it with the incr keyword, and when you get it again, Redis already did it for you. So it's a very easy way to increment your data if you're using Redis. So in this example, we were incrementing by 1. Let's say in your use case, you want to increment the counter by a different amount every time. So very simple, almost the exact same. What you could do is incr and then by. You give it the key and then the increment. Let's say we want to increment by 10. So we have 53. This should go up to 63. And there you go. It's going up by 63. If you want to do it again, let's say you want to increment by 150. You're getting 213, which is 63 plus 150. So you can both increment by 1 just by using incr, or you can increment by a set amount by using incr by and giving it the increment. Similar to incrementing, you can also decrement, exactly the same. So just note that our value is 213. If you want to do decr, which is decrement, falls down to 212, do it again, 211, 210, 29. Similarly, if you want to do it by a set amount rather than 1, you can do decr by. You give it the key, and then you give it the value, let's say 100. It's 209. If we decrement by 100, we should have 109. And we have 109 over here. So very simple operations to increment and decrement, either by 1 or by a set amount. And Redis lets you do that very easily rather than doing everything in your client code. All right, so now the next function that we're going to use is called mset. What mset lets you do is set multiple key value pairs with one command. Of course, you can do multiple set, like you can do like set name Bob, and you can do set age 20 to set multiple keys. But with mset, you can do all of them in one command. So let's say we want the name. So the key name is going to be mapped to the value Bob, and then the age key is going to be mapped to the value 24, and then the country key is going to be mapped to the value US. with this. Now, if you want to get them, let's say you want to do get name, you're getting Bob. If you're doing get age, you're getting 24. If you're doing get country, you're getting US. Similar to mset, if you want to get multiple keys at the same time, you could do mget and then give it the keys that you want. So we want name, age, and country. And you're getting Bob, 24, and US, all three of them. It's a very easy way to do some bulk operations if you don't want to do get and set one at a time for multiple keys. All right, more functions. All right, let's say you want to check if a particular key exists or not. Very easy. You could do exists. That's the keyword. And give it the key. Let's say name. It's going to give you 1. 1 means yes, the key name does exist in Redis. Exists age. You're getting 1 again, right? So exists name. Exists name. We're getting 1, which means it does exist. And exists age. It does. Now let's look at one that we never entered, right? Let's say we did enter occupation. Let's say, I don't know, gender, right? This gives you 0. That means gender does not exist in the database. Let's set it. Let's set gender to male. And now let's do exists gender. Now it gives you a 1 because the data is there. So a very easy way to see if a key is there in your Redis or not. Similarly, let's say you have gender right now, but you want to delete it from the database. So you could do del, that's the delete command, and you give it the key, which is gender. So this deletes it for you. And now if we do an exists, it should say like the data is not there. And there you go. You get a 0, which means the data is not there anymore. So very simple way to just get rid of any key that you want to. And of course, when inserting, if you knew that after X amount of minutes or hours, you don't want the data to be there anymore, you could have always done something like set gender male ex3 5. So for 5 seconds, the data is going to be there. Let's do gender. Let's do, so it does exist. And we'll wait 5 seconds. Do it again. It's not there anymore. If we try to get it, giving you nil because the data is not there anymore. So yeah, you can either have automatic deletion or you can just delete it manually using the del keyword. All right, so that's all about strings and numbers. And now we're going to move on to the next data structure, which is going to be a list, right? So in Redis, unlike Memcache, you can have multiple different kinds of data structure. In Memcache, you only get a string data type to store your data, but Redis gives you more data structure like lists, sets, and something called hashes. We're going to look at all three now. So the first one we're going to look at is the list data structure. So what we're going to do is look at L push. So what L push does is it pushes an element to the left of the array. So let's say your key is called menu, and menu is a list, and you want to add burgers to the left of this list. There you go. And now you want to add another to the left. So let's say left push menu sandwich. And let's do another left push menu pizza. So what's happening here? At first your array is empty, or your list is empty. You're adding burgers to it. That's the only item in there. And then you're doing a left push sandwich. That means your new element, sandwich, is going to be stored to the left of the array. So now your array is going to look like sandwich and then burger. Similarly, you're doing another left push called pizza. So now pizza should be added to the left. So you're going to have pizza, sandwich, and burgers. So that brings to question, how do we see what's there in the database? So for that, you do something called L range. You give it the key menu. You give it the start. So we want from the first element, so 0, to the end. And the way you say end is -1. So look at this: pizza, sandwich, and burgers. Very easy. Now let's say you want to add something to the end of the list, not the front of the list. For that, you do R push, which is right push. Give it the key, and let's say we do boba. Now let's do L range, menu from the beginning to the end. And you can see boba got added to the end, right? I'll actually delete it so that it's much more cleaner. So let's do L range, menu, 0, and -1. We have all this. Let's say you want to add something to the front of the list. All you do is L push, menu, and then you give it the element. Let's say pasta. You do L range, menu, 0, -1. Pasta's at the top. Let's say you want to add something to the end of the list. You do R push, menu, and then let's do bread. And you see everything. There you go. You see it at the end. So that's a very easy way in Redis to interact with the list. You can add to the front, you can add to the end, and you can get whatever you want using L range. So let's say you wanted the top 2 only. You could do L range, menu, start at 0, and end at 0 and 1, 1. This gives you the top 2. If you want top 3, you could do 0 and end at 2. So now you're going to get 0, 1, and 2. So pasta, pizza, and sandwich. So pretty straightforward. All right, what else? List command is going to be helpful. Let's see. Oh yeah, so let's say you want a very common operation is to pop from the front of the list. So you have pasta, pizza, sandwich, burgers, boba, and bread. So you could do L pop. I think it's called L pop. Let's try it out. Menu. You're getting pasta, which was at the top of the list. Now, once this is gone, top of the list is gonna be pizza. So let's try it again, and we're getting pizza. Let's look at our list now. We have sandwich, burger, boba, and bread. And then if you wanna pop from the end, in this case it's gonna be bread. And you're getting bread. Do it again. Now you should get boba. There you go. And let's look at the list. Now you only have 2 more items in it. So very simple to add elements to the front or to the end, and very easy to pop elements from the front or from the end. And you, with L range, you can view the data or like get X amount of data from your list. So I think that's most of the helpful list functions. There's another, this might be helpful. So let's say we want to add a bunch more things. Let's just put them back. So L push, let's do seafood. L push, let's do, I don't know, let's do calzones. And then let's do another, right? Let's do sushi. All right, and then let's look at the, it has to be the key, which is menu. We're gonna do seafood. We're gonna do calzones. And then we're gonna do sushi. Let's print the data out. There you go. So we have sushi, calzone, seafood, sandwich, and burger. Let's say you wanna trim the list. So now you have 5 elements. Instead of that, you want, let's say, 2 elements, right? And the way you do that is using L trim. You give it the key, which is menu. You give it, you give the range that you want to keep. So I want everything from 0 to 3 to be there. Now, if I take a look at this, you can see we have sushi, calzone, seafood, and sandwich. Burger is gone because we have the index 0, 1, 2, and 3. All right, so that's a very easy way to, like, let's say you keep on adding to the list and now you only want the top 5 to be there, so you can just do a L trim with 0 and 4. So yeah, that's a good way to like trim the list if you find that helpful. All right, the next data structure we're going to take a look at is something called a hash. So think of hash in Redis like an object. You can have an object with multiple attributes. So you can give it a key, and for that key, you can have an object with multiple key value pair in it. Let's go through an example that's going to make it easy to understand. Right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say hm set. That's how you set a hash key. You give it the key. Let's say in our case it's going to be user : 1000. This is our key. For this key, we can have multiple key value pairings. So we can say for this key, the first attribute is going to be name, Bob. We're going to give age 20. We're going to give visits 50. Now let's set it, right? There you go. And now if we try to get it, you're going to use something called hget. You're going to give it the key, which is user 1000. And which field or attribute of that key do you want? Let's say we want name. You're going to get Bob. Similarly, if you wanted age, you're going to get 20. If you wanted visits, you're getting 50. Right? Now let's say you want all the key value pairs you have over here for your user 1000. What you could do is hget all, and then give the key, which is user 1000. And you can see you're getting name, which is the key, Bob, that's the value, age 20, and then visits 50. So you're getting all the attributes for the key user 1000. So it's a very easy way. So using hash, you can have related data all together, and then use something like hgetAll to get everything related to that user with one query. So yeah, it comes very handy if you want to store a user-specific data in your cache or database in Redis. All right, so we did that. We got the hset and the hget done. And now another thing, this is not super helpful, but if you want, you can use it. So in this hash of user 1000, you can see we have something called visits 50. And it's very common for you to increment the visit key every time user 1000 comes to your website. Given the visits is like a field within the hash, it might be difficult to retrieve it, add one to it, and then stick it back in. So instead of that, Redis gives you an easy way to do it. It's called h and then increment by. So you have h, which is for hash, incr, which is for increment, and then by. So you want to give it the h increment by. You give it the key. In this case, it's going to be user 1000. You give it the field. You want visits. And you want to say by how much to increment. Let's say 1. Now, if you want to do a hget for user 1000 visits, it's 51. Before it was 50. If we do another increment by, let's say 20. And now if you want to do let's do hgetAll, and you can see for visits we're getting 71, which is our previous value 51 plus the increment the amount you were incrementing by, in this case 20. So very easy way to increment or decrement fields within a hash. All right, and the last one we're going to take a look at is sets. Sets in Redis is almost the exact same as sets in any other programming language. You're going to have a unique list of elements, no duplicates, and the set in itself is not going to be ordered. So no matter when you insert or remove from the set, when you try to get all the elements in the set, you're going to get them in an unordered fashion. So very easy to add something to a set. You do sadd. You give a key to the set. Let's say we're just going to call it my set. And then let's say we give 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. right? And 5 tells you all 5 elements has been added. Let's say you try to add some duplicates. Let's say my set dupe. Let's say you want to do 1, 2, 3, and then you want to do 4, 4, 4, 4, 5. So in this case, 4 should be added only once. And there you go. You have 5 elements because you have 1, 2, 3. You have 1 time 4 and then 5. So that's how you add if you want to add one element, exactly the same. Let's say you wanted 6, and there you go. You're just adding 6 to it, right? Common operation in set, I would say the most common is to check if something is already in the set or not. For that, you can use something called s and then is member. Let's say the key is called my set, and then you do 4, 3. This returns to you 1 because 3 is a member of the my set key. If you want to try it with something we do not have in the set, let's say we do 99, it gives you 0 because we do not have 99 in the set. Let's try adding it to the set. And now let's try to do a is member. And we're getting a 1 because the data is there right now. Alright, so that is pretty much all the common functions and data structures that you can use in Redis. So we looked at string numbers, which is just a type of string. We looked at list, we looked at hashes, and we looked at set. So these should be enough for you to do almost anything using Redis. There are a few more data structures like sorted, set, and stream, but none of them are super common. So I think with the ones that I went through in this video, you should be good to go for pretty advanced use cases of Redis. So hopefully the video was helpful. If you learned anything or found it helpful, please leave a like. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments and I'll try to get back to you as soon as I can. With that being said, hope you have a good day. I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.